Hey guys, so I'm going to be taking you through one of my pictures I'm painting. This is going to be really interesting. So guys, this is my canvas. I have basically already done the background. So what I did was I did a yellow edging. I put some white paint in the center and I used a sort of it's a brush very similar to what you would put your powder on with foundation or blush or anything. The brush itself is wet, so it's really hard to show you, but it's a really fluffy brush. So I've just smoked that out a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to put some landscape here, and I'll have a focal piece in the center eventually. So with my portraits, I like to have sort of a little bit of variation of greens for the landscape. I tend to keep it green because I find that a lot of the greens I have sort of work really well. And then I'll do highlights in either glitter or I'll do highlights with yellow with a lot of the landscapes. So I've got all three colours in my palette. So I've got a darker green, a more sea green, and then a sort of burnt yellow. So the yellow that I've used for the background is not the same yellow as this either. The yellow I've used is just poster paint. So with the background I wanted to use poster paint because poster paint is a little bit thinner than acrylic, but thicker than watercolors. Now for my brushes, I like to keep them wet, but I sort of have a piece of newspaper where I take most of the moisture out because I only keep certain parts wet for certain things to dilute paint. Because I haven't really been able to find any mediums in any of the stores that I have been going to. I wish I did have more of a stable easel, but I don't at this stage. So I'm just sort of blocking out what I want. And the really cool thing is with the background you can use that for luminosity. I like a lot of light when it comes to pictures. That's why I actually ended up playing with glitter. I had an idea and I was like, I'll go with it, see what happens. So this one I'm wanting to sort of, you know, have it in my house. Because we have some really terrible walls. I might even put this one, there's a hole at the back of my door and I wanted to cover that up because I'm living in a rental and that hole was already there when I moved in, so So we've already got that sort of shape coming up. Now the biggest problem with this easel is that it's not really the right size for this canvas. There we go. No, now. I'm listening to Birthday Massacre while doing this as well. Now the really important thing with a lot of these paints. When you're doing the back, like the more lower layers, you want to sort of, so more towards the background, and when you're planning out, you want to sort of use thinner paint. So you want to use it, you want to put it in your sort of palette as you need it. Cool. So we are getting somewhere. Oh no, me so well. I know now. Somebody else. Know now. On out from Monday's spell. So that's the base layer of the sort of grassy plain. So I'm going to go in there with a little bit of a different thing to give it a little bit of texture. But you don't want to overdo this bit too much, because if you overdo it, it can actually ruin your painting completely, and that is not at all what I really want to do. I really want this to work well because it is a canvas. Although it's a cheap and flimsy canvas, I still want to treat it as if I was, you know, doing really well, because I have always been taught it's not about what you use, it's about how you use it. That's been with its photography or you know, actually painting, making videos. It's always about how you position things, your rule of thirds, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of yellow, but I don't want to use too much of this. It's more like sort of to give it a little bit of highlighting. We'll come over with something else to add a bit more highlighting as well. So I'm more going to focus towards the top. And you can experiment with different colors too, because it's, the thing with art is it's never a one size fits all thing. Now, so now I'm using sort of this brush. I want it to be a little bit wet. So this one is just, it's a pointy tip, but for some reason it started going this way. I think it's just because it's an old brush. But I'm gonna, sometimes I like to use older brushes because they twist the shape slightly different. So I just want to give it a bit of a shadow here to sort of create an edge line, if that makes sense. So when I'm doing this, the bigger the brush, the better. The other brush that I was just using would have been perfect, but I want to soak that in water for a minute before I do anything else with that. So I guess the next stage would be to create something up here and then replicate it down here. Where is my black paint? And no matter, I've got black, that's white. Here it is. So I've got some cheap Kmart $4 paint. So these come in a set of 4 and it's $4 for them. And this is also from Kmart too. This is from the children's section, and I really like using this paint, to be honest. It's got a little bit of luminosity to it. So these are what I'm about to use. So usually I'll use the black from the pot, and I'll use the more difficult bottles from the palette. So what I'm going to do here is sort of create some fake trees. They're sort of in the mist in a way. For the background, and then we'll have some proper trees coming out as well. So you can hardly see it. This one is very translucent, which is good for me. I love translucent paints, and I love pigmented paints too, because I think that it gives you a couple of more options. So never just hate a paint because it's translucent, because you could use it for something else a little bit later. So these, as I get to the edges, I want to sort of make it a little bit easier to see. Now reflections aren't always going to be perfect because they are reflections, and sometimes surfaces will be slightly at a different angle and depth, so don't worry too much if they're not exactly perfect. So the next thing I'm going to do is put in some trees. And I love using black for my trees. I just think that black is a really nice color for it. Now, this is where I'm going to talk to you about canvases. So, I don't know if you can see very well there. I'll move you a little bit closer. But with the canvas there, the color is breaking apart. Now, I find with cheaper canvases that can be the case. I usually do like to use a flat board such as what I have here. So this is a flat board canvas, and as you can see, it's just a piece of cardboard. I usually prefer that, but in this case I've chosen this because they didn't have flat boards at the shop where I bought this. But that's okay, we can still work with it. So what I'll do is go over that there. Because this just means that it's just more porous in a way. Another trick you can do is you can do a couple of layers of paint, as in for the background. If you do happen to have to use cheaper canvases, that can also sort of fill it in too. Or you could get some kind of base coat. I was trained originally with polyfiller to sort of fill in the background. So that's a little bit of a tip as well for you. I'm only going to do like a couple of trees here because we've got the background too. It's also good to practice on canvases. So you see we've got tree trunk bases there. So then I will draw those in here, and it doesn't matter if these are a little bit wishy-washy down here because they are just reflections. They don't need to have the same sort of depth as the ones that are up there. Just as long as you've got the shape, that's what's important. And the shape can differ slightly because obviously reflections are, you know, just reflections. They can be of different angles and stuff like that. So that's how I've got that so far. So here's a palette that I have as well, which I was naughty and didn't clean. You really should clean it, but I'm lazy. Bear with me. So what I'm going to do now is put up a couple of toadstools. Perfect. Did I actually do the same mistake? I keep putting red on my brush first when I mean to put on white. That's okay, well... So I like to do the actual stalk of the toadstool first before anything, because I think that toadstools are really pretty. When I was a child once, I actually ate a toadstool and survived. I got really sick though, but I thought that I would turn into a fairy if I ate one. And yeah, we do get toadstools in Australia. A lot of people think that we don't, but we do. I thought that if you eat the magical mushroom in the yard, fairies would take you away to their land. So I thought it was a great idea to do that. And I think that that's kind of funny, but you know, don't eat toadstools, you'll get sick and start hallucinating. So we've got all the stalks there done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come through the red. I was thinking about making this a blue background, and I'm actually glad that I did yellow because I think it stands out really nicely. Maybe me eating the toadstools. Why I'm such a weirdo. But I do not recommend doing it. If you're gonna do it, and especially don't do it when you're a kid. So there's with the toadstools on it. Now, what you want to do sort of when you're getting ready to do the little spots, this brush won't be good for it. There was a brush that I had before though that would be perfect. You want something that will have a pointy end for the little dots. I'll test this one because I don't think I have my really good one handy. This will do. Sometimes you will have to go over the spots when it dries because the spots become translucent. Realistically, if I was doing it properly, like I would actually let each layer dry. But because I'm doing it in a video, I want to do it all. And this one's just going into my house, so if I make a mistake here and there, it's not a big deal. So realistically, a lot of the stuff that I do is actually very simplistic. So my camera turned off, which means it's probably, you know, just run out of time. So where I'm up to is I've just put in the branches to be able to have them as a guide where I'm going to put the next colour. So I'm going to use this beautiful metallic purple. And I believe I do have another violet handy over here. Yes, I'm going to use a combination of these and blue for the leaves, because violet or purple is the opposing color to gold, so I thought that that would look really cool. Where is it? Where's the purple brush? And for the violet, we're going to use my violet brush. So as you can see, I'm sort of going for an arch effect. I'm gonna add some on the outside of these trees, otherwise it's gonna look a little bit funny. And we're going for sort of a heart shape at the top here. Okay. Make a tiny little bit of purple. So we've got that duplicate shape now. So I'll come in with my next shade of purple. And then ouch. Come on, come out. This one's a little bit blocked up, but I think this pink would be perfect to go. It's a little bit of a highlight up here. Just to fill it in a little bit. Get past that translucency, if that's the word. Then might add the tiniest little bit of blue. Just to get that texture. Now I'll add a little bit of petaling down here, and then a little bit over here. Could because realistically, if you have trees like this, petals may fall down, so it's not hard to see that there would be petals there. Now I've got to let this dry because I can't do the next step without this bit being dry, so I'll come back to this a little bit later. So guys, I'm working on the next stage now that it's dry enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through here and create the leaves. And I have gotten a sweater. It's a little bit chilly today, so yeah. So I like to use a combination of a few different colors, as you can probably see for the leaving. I like to sort of do an autumn look, and I sort of tend to do some form of brown first, and then I'll go in with the brighter colors afterwards. Just want to find, oh wait, I already had it out. So I've got, oh shoot, somehow I got yellow all over my hands, but no matter, I'll just rub that in, because I'd like to try and keep my hands clean when I'm doing this as well. Probably means I just touched the palette that I was using before. So I'll start off with sort of the brown leaves and go from there. Sometimes I will cover up the reflections, but I like to have the reflections underneath anyway, just in case I don't. It's easier to do them in the background than having to do them when you're coming back through. And if you do it over the top of things, you don't have to worry about it later. The really cool thing is you can build up on this too. And you want to sort of splotch it out, break it up as you come towards the center. Oh, now you lead yourself into hell. Oh, now you want now from Monday's spell. Monday's spell. Now you're gonna want to put this over the reflections as well, because that's what's going to make them look like they are indeed reflections in water. Dream. Scream. Oh, now. Oh, now. Now I'm going to come in with some red to break it up a little bit. One now from Monday a spell. 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 And then I'm gonna come in with this more of an orange tone. No, now. Me so well. Oh, no. Sorry, I got paint all over me. Well, I can assure you that's not the case. They usually do, yeah. And I'm gonna get some yellow. Just for highlighting. So that's the leaves. So sometimes just go in and fill in where I feel needs filling in. So now the glitter, so now that the leaves themselves are done, what I'm gonna come in with is glitter paint. So I have a couple of variants of this. I've got this and this. I think this one would be better. And then I also have another one that's very similar. But I'm not sure where I've got it. Too many paints. This as well is really good. So I've got these 3 tones, so I'll probably use all of them throughout it. So it's gone a bit dark. I've got this with the glitter, so if I do that, is it gonna focus? Probably not, but yeah, we'll just go through. Hope I'm not freaking anybody out right now with what I'm doing. So you want to keep this splotching, you don't want to do the stroking because that'll blend the paint too much. So we're using our second glitter, which is this one. And then we're going to go in with our bronze glitter. Especially up here. So that glitter is pretty interesting. So what I'll do is I'll show you a close-up of what I've done so far. So if you can see, there's that glitter all along the edge here and only on the leaves so far. So I've got that there so far. Where is my silver? Actually, that should still be dry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little rock. So we've got our rock there. It's really simplistic at this stage, but we'll go in a little bit more, and I might get a little bit of black to add some depth to it, and I can add some white to it as well. Go, that's looking good. And then already had yellow. I'm gonna do some little yellow flowers. So we've got our yellow flowers there. And what I'm going to do is put where's the red gone? You know when you've just lost your paint color. Okay, we'll just keep going. Lost that. Oh wait, it's my... I was like, where's my red paint? Sitting right in front of me. So we've got a little basket there. Let's find a smallish but not too small brush. This seems... because what I next want to do is get this beautiful gold and put it on the edging of the green. To give it some sort of highlight. As I said, I really love glitter. Don't judge me. And I don't know why, but a lot of people say that they don't think kids quality paint is good, but I like to use it. I think you can get some different textures with it that you wouldn't usually be able to get with higher quality paints, and sometimes you need that little bit of translucency. You wouldn't get it if you're using one of those really expensive paints, because unless you had a medium, and sometimes a medium is really annoying to work with. So I'm going to get this bronze coloured glitter and I'm going to use that on the flowers in the basket. So it's just got a little bit too much glitter on my brush, but that's okay, I can work with that. So now I'm going to get this finer glitter. It's a little bit lighter too, which means it's perfect for doing the top border. Because you want to sort of have it blend out a bit. The only problem, so I'm just going to be using this glitter for the water. And you want to go across with the glitter in the water because it may pick up some of the paint, and water is going to have that sort of little bits of lines here and there, so I like to drag inwards just in case it does pick up the paint. And you can always rub something in if it does a little bit too much of something. And I'll do a little bit of silver around the edging too, just because we all know mirrors and water and all that have that sort of silvering effect. So I'll do that sort of around the edges where the leaves are coming in, just to add a bit of depth there. And where is my purple glitter? Oh wait, I'll use the pink glitter this time because I'm gonna come through up here with it a little bit, and that's gonna add a little bit of a warm hue while giving it that glittery effect. You just want to make sure that you've blended out any glitter glue lines, because obviously glitter glue can create lines and it won't look good. So I'm going a lot slower pace to what I would usually go to here. And then the final glitter that I'll add is the green. I might need to get some more of the green glitter. I'm starting to go for it like crazy lately. So this is our portrait, our painting, not portrait, done. So that was just a simple painting to do. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I just really wanted to try seeing what it was like painting while I filmed. Anyway, bye!